All right, folks, welcome. This is going to be Toon Boom 5. We're going to split it up into two parts. Sorry, the notes are just they're just set up the way that I had them set up before. So we're going to cover these sort of backwards. So we're going to start here down at the bottom of the notes, talking about the scene planning section of this, because this is the stuff that is more or less in the same realm as the things we've been doing so far. So this is where I would like to start today's assignment. And today what we're going to be doing is, instead of setting translate keyframes in 2 dimensions, we're going to now start working with our 2D drawings in 3D. So we are going to spread our drawings out as if they were pieces of paper in a physical 3D space. So that way, when we move our camera towards them, we'll get that difference. The parallax error is the appropriate word for it. Today, instead of animating our drawings to move, we are going to animate our camera to move relative to our drawings. So for that, we are going to be looking at this video here, which I have to be careful of, I guess, so I don't get copyright striked or whatever. So please don't let me get copyright strike for this. Okay. So for starters, the files for today, we have a Toon Boom project folder. When you click on this, you will need to go open in a new window, and then it will give you the option to download the zip folder. So then you can hit this. When you download it, here, I'll download it right here because we're putting it in the video anyway. It'll give you a zip folder. Unzip that folder. Boom. This XStage file is what you want to open. Make sure that if you double click it, it is most likely going to open up in an older version of Toon Boom. The triangle version, Harmony 14 rather. So make sure if you have this down on the dock here, you can just drag this down to the dock. This is fine. And give it a second, and boom. And so this is what I have given you. I've given you a background in a peg. It is 3 different layers and a color card. So before we start talking about the work at hand today, let's talk about what it is that I have given you here. Oh, great. So there are 3 drawing layers in here. There's a dark green layer, light green layer, and a white layer. And these are all layered on top of each other. And what these are cycles of just sort of like drawings that I scribbled out with my tablet. And so I have 1 frame, or 1 drawing rather, 1 drawing, 2 drawings, 3 drawings, 4 drawings, 5 drawings. And then I just have them on 3s. So each drawing is showing for 3 frames. And then I just have it cycled over and over. Oh, there's 6 frames in this cycle. So there's 6 different versions of the dark green. Times 3 for each. So 18 frame cycle, cycled over and over until the end. For my light green, similar concept. I have 5 different drawings, but they are on 2s. So 5 drawings in my cycle times 2. There is a 10 frame cycle. Thank you, Michael. He's doing what I was thinking. And same thing for the white. This is also just a 5 drawing cycle on 3s. So 5 times 3, 15 frames in our cycle. Put all together, you get this. So this is our background. On a green color card, I should point out. It is all together in a peg. And this peg has actually already been moved. You can see that there's a keyframe on frame 1. Where has it been moved to, you might ask? So we are going to switch gears. Up here at the top is a menu for your different types of views, or workspaces, I should say, to use the appropriate word. You can also find these under the Windows, workspace, and then there's the different workspaces here. We are switching to compositing, which used to be called scene planning. And so when you get over to it, it's not going to look the same as it's going to look here in a second, because I've already worked with mine. So it'll look something, I want to say by default it looks like this or something. Maybe. What tab is it on? Layer property? Okay. Anyway, yeah, it'll look like this. So a couple things are at hand here. First of all, there's this window here for the node view. It's not useful to us. We're not going to use this. So if you tap this little arrow here to the right, that will condense that panel. So now I just have the camera, this one over here. I'm going to switch this tab across the top here to the tab that says top. And now I can see my top view of my camera. And then I'm just going to grab this here and extend it out so I can see more in my top view. So now I have my camera workspace, timeline down here, and then top tab opened up here. So if we go back to the notes. Boom. So now we're in the top tab. We're going to talk about library tomorrow when we go over doing the lip syncing. So our top view is exactly what it says on the tin. It is the view of your drawings from the top. Now, they're frames, or they're 2D drawings. So basically, by default, they just all are overlapping. They're in the same point in space. The camera is just in a fixed spot pointing at them. And that little triangle that you see is the representation of your camera's view. So if I grab the camera here, whoops. I need to add the camera before I can move it. Okay, they changed that. Cool. So I am going to add a new layer, and this time I will choose camera. So again, from the little plus sign menu in your timeline, choose camera. Now it's going to let me move my camera around. You can see I can push it super close, pull it super far away, whatever, right? So now my camera is in the picture. It's in the mix. However, obviously my camera, we should not just be moving the camera around. The camera should be led along by a peg. So I'm just going to add the camera directly into a peg. So now my camera has a peg that I can move around on its behalf. That'll move the camera. Because now we're going to keyframe, once we set up our drawings, we'll go and start setting our keyframes for our camera to move things around our drawings. And so looking at our top view, folks, if I click on this first keyframe that I've set on the background, I have moved it back from the default plane. So the default space would be right here. I moved it all the way back to here. Same with the color card. So that way I can place the place Ash like halfway between the camera and this, so that we can get some the difference in size between the background and Ash. It won't look like they're right on top of each other. So now I need to bring in Ash. So you will notice I have also given you, this is the link to the video that we're following. I've given you the audio file that we're going to bring in and the picture of Ash with no mouth. More on that tomorrow. So we need this picture though. So go ahead and save this picture. Again, save image as, whatever your method is. And then you're just going to import that picture. Import images. My copy of this file is in a folder called the drop. So I'll go grab that. Open, create a layer, keep as original. People have been having issues with the alpha or the transparency issues with some of their files, like for their balls. Like if they brought in, like someone was using like that Pixar ball. So change this transparency alpha to straight from pre-multiplied with white, and that should fix your issue. So I'm going to hit straight. Okay. Now Ash is in here. So one thing I will point out, the original picture I got this from is in standard definition. So Ash does not neatly fit into our frame. So we are going to have to scale him and move him to make him align with the right side and top and bottom of our frame so that, you know, we don't see him getting cut off in our animation. Before we can do that, Ash, however, must be added to his own peg. And then, just for sake of ease, I'm going to move this Ash peg to the top just to get it above the background. I also am going to condense my background peg because, again, I'm not going to be messing with the background. Background has been set up for you, so make that for you easy. So here we go on to Ash. Now, you'll see as I push Ash away from the camera, he will obviously get smaller in the frame. So if I push him way back here, I must then also, and you'll notice that your animation tools come over here. I don't know why. And just make it look more like Maya, I guess. I don't know. So, and it's very difficult to see on here. I don't know why. I mean, I sort of know why, but I don't know why it's happening. So here is the end of my frame. Down here. Here and here. So I'm going to scale, holding shift, scale Ash up until he's bigger than the frame slightly. And if I look up here, he's probably just clipping out of the box up here. Move tool. And I'm also going to move Ash so that the side of him is just outside the edge of my camera. And you can see in my top view that the edge of him is just past the camera's field of view, right? So just tell me where the camera can see. That's what this triangle represents. So, with the setup here on frame 1, we have Ash in the midground, the background in the background, and our camera is in a peg, and I'm going to set a keyframe on frame 1 for that. So, again, we have Ash set up on frame 1, in a peg, moved and scaled. We have the camera added to a peg with a keyframe for translate on frame 1, just where it's at. Now we can start animating this thing. So let us, okay, this is muted. So here's the thing. Obviously our dude is not animated. So we're just going to move the camera around Ash to sort of mimic this. So the first motion we have is dude pulls his hat back. So we're going to hit this pose at about 1.5, right? We zoom in at about 1 second, so 24 frames. And then in about 1.5, so 36 frames, oops, don't play. He will hit this pose. So on my camera, like I said, 1 second in, we should be pushed in looking at the top of the hat. That's 24 frames. Again, I'm on frame 24 of my camera peg. Push the camera in. Lift it up. Move it over. That's a good mimic of that shot. There's nothing to see on that hat. That's not the point. So, great. Then, as we said, another 1/2 second forward gets us to this pose, right? So, that's 12 frames forward in the future. I'm on frame 36. If we pull the camera back out, move it down, I need to pull it out more. Move it down more. Over more this way. A little more this way. I think this should be much, yeah, it should be much closer. So I'm a little too far out. So I do need to push back in. Let's pull this up more because it's more of a shoulders and above shot. I do think that I need to get the bottom of his face in here. Correct. Okay. Cool. So we go quickly from this, pull back into this. And then after this, where do we go next? This is, so at about 2 seconds, we have this sort of wider shot, not really a wide shot, but wider shot of the close-up of the eye. Because the very next one is extreme close-up on the eye. Let's go back here. So about 2 seconds in, that's frame 48, so another half second forward. We are, from here, going to this pose. Something along these lines. That's going to give us, oh, his ear should be more in the shot, so let's pull this back slightly. Move this over more. Okay. Again, don't worry about the fact that he doesn't have mouth right now. That will come up later. And then, so that's 2 seconds in. So we're 2 seconds in, frame 48. And then, just before 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. We're at an extreme close-up of the eye. Extreme, extreme, extreme close-up. So that would be another whole second forward. So that's 24 frames. So 72 would be here, push in, I did push in a little too far. There we go. There we go. Okay. In fact, I actually do need to push in a little bit more. Okay, cool. Now, this pose holds for a whole second. So I'm at 4 seconds now. So that means we hold another 24, which puts us at 96. And I'm just going to move to 96 inside a keyframe. Because again, we're staying pushed in on the eye for a second. Then, very swift pullback. So we pull back quickly into this pose. It holds here. Because this is when, so we move from here to here in, I mean, less than half a second, honestly. Oh, maybe it's about a second, half a second. Okay. So we'll go 12 frames. So that'll go to 110. And we'll pull back out. Essentially, you can reset. Because we're pausing in the pose that I took the screenshot of. Okay. All right. So we go from this back to this. And then after this is when it continues to pull back and says Pokeball go. Oh, no. Don't copyright strike me, please. No, please no. Okay. So if we go back, there is one other thing that we need to do to all of this once we've locked this animation in. But this is what we have right now. Now based on what we have been working on the last couple of assignments, what do you think is the last thing that we need to adjust for what we have done? Who knows the answer? It was a single word. You had to do this for the ball bounce. Yes. Ease is the word I was looking for, but you have the correct answer. What is the speed of our transitions between the keyframes that we have set? So right now, everything is again at our default linear transitions, which means that this entire thing moves at a linear speed throughout, which is why it looks weird. So now we need to decide, how should these transitions occur? So from this one, we probably want to have it quickly transition to here. So I'm going to hit it with a rapid in. Now I'm not going to go insane. I'm going to use the second from the bottom. So that gives us this into another rapid swoop. And then from this into this I one. I'm going to slow into this one with the middle one, because from here I'm going to wrap it out into this one. And then finally for my return, I will also switch into the slow out. So now we got that. So again, it was setting keyframes not just in here, but also by moving them over here, and then just adding a little bit of ease to it so that the transitions look nice. Now, the final step to this, which we'll talk about in tomorrow's half of the video, you're going to need to add in this ash peg a new drawing layer, and this will be called mouse, add and close. And then that is the domain of creating our mouth shapes for lip syncing. So the audio file I have given you, which I'm not going to play the video of it because I don't want to get copyright struck by these hateful people, but I've given you this audio file. Sorry, it's the Pokeball Go sign. So we're gonna lip sync to Pokeball Go tomorrow. So that is what we're gonna be doing. So to do a lip sync, you're going to need to create the 8 generic mouth shapes that are used. And I want to point out, these mouth shapes do not correlate to the letters that are on them. I get that question a lot. These are labeled just A through G mouth shapes instead of numbering them for whatever reason. So, I want to say like the A shape is like an M, like so like that kind of stuff. So you would make these 8 mouth shapes one frame after another on that mouth shapes thing that I made here. So then I could, where is this? Where's brush? Brushy brush. I could do, okay. So boom. Here's my A shape. And then ignore the fact that it's moving. Ignore the fact that Ash is moving. And then make sure your onion skin is on. So now I can see where my mouth shape was before. And then, actually, mouth shape should be a little up. And then, so this is my B shape. C shape. Anyway, that is the portion for tomorrow, though. So anyway, for people who get done today, you can do that. But otherwise, the end of this portion of it, you should just have the keyframes in space that zoom in on different portions of the picture, mimicking the Pokeball Go video referenced. And again, we're in the compositing workspace, top tab, to do that. So that's it for this part of the video. Thanks. Okay. So the last portion of this, again, this will be all in one video, but the assumption is that you've already completed setting up your camera movements on the peg. You've put Ash into a peg, which I guess I didn't make that super clear, but Ash should be in a peg, and Ash should be in a peg that has been moved back in space. Talk more about that in a second, I guess. And then, yeah, so from here, and as a reminder, I'm going to switch over to my compositing workspace. So, again, if we're looking at this, Ash, you can see back here, this is the standard plane right here. This is where it started. Pushed it back. The background is back here. So that way there's more distance for the camera to push in on this relative to his size. And so, anyway, we have Ash here. We have the camera done. Now, I'm actually going to start by turning the camera peg off for this, because I don't want the camera to move while I'm doing what I'm trying to do. I need Ash to stay still while I'm drawing the mouth shapes. So I'm going to zoom in on the mouth area. I'm going to make a new drawing layer, and this will be called Mouth. And you'll notice that I do not have the drawing layer in the Ash peg yet. So now I'm just going to start drawing my mouth shapes. Now to do that, I need to go back to my default workspace. I don't need to, but it'll make my life easier. I'm going to go back. We're all familiar with our good friend, the default workspace. So I'm going to grab my brush tool, zoom in on the mouth area. I'm on frame 1 of this. And then if we look back at our notes, where we started this off this week, we now at the top need to create these mouth shapes so that we can lip sync them. So I need to create A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and X shape. Now, I will point out these letters that are on these mouth shapes do not represent this is not a B shape. Like, this isn't the shape that your mouth makes when you're making a B sound. They're just labeled A, B, C, D. So like the A sound here is a it's actually an M, for example. So you're going to draw each of these mouth shapes on your mouth layer, one frame after another. So you will see why that's important in a second. So I'm on my brush tool, frame 1. I have my Wacom tablet in front of me, and now I will, so there's my neutral mouth, it's my A shape, go forward 1 frame. I'm going to turn on my onion skin so I can see where my mouth shapes are focused, because I want them to all be around the same shape. Keep in mind for your mouth shapes as you draw these, the top lip will move up slightly, but the majority of your mouth shape changes should be on the bottom side, because the jaw is the part that's moving primarily. For your upper lip, it's really just your upper lip pulling back a little bit as you open your mouth. So just keep that in mind as you're making each of these shapes. So now Basically, B, C, D are the same shape, just more and more open. So let me get in here and do that. Oops, I'm making his mouth longer. A little bigger. Okay. I'm not spending a ton of time on my mouth shapes, so maybe spend a second more than me. Okay, so those are my A, B, C, D mouth shapes. Now I need to do E, F, which are more of the mouth shapes. I guess I'll, you can see my mouth for a second. So, also, as a good point today, folks, when you're doing this assignment, you're mouthing Pokeball Go. No one can see your mouth, so you don't have to worry about looking like an idiot. So, not that you would, but you also don't need to worry about it. Okay. So, again, this E and then F shape are, this is slightly more closed, and this is just straight up, So, we're gonna... Oops. Okay. Okay. This is just straight up circle. And then we need the so-called G shape, which is, it's the sound, which is great because this is F and this is G. But whatever. Again, I didn't make the rules for naming this, so when I do this, I just do like this, and then this is my biting on the lip move. So, okay, we'll call it good there. Okay. X shape. Whoops. I'm off one. Because I'm on this. This is A, B, C, D, E, F. It's my. Oh, I made an extra open mouth shape. Cool. So you folks are gonna get to see what happens when you make a mistake. So yeah, let's do this and this. So then I want to delete this one. Okay. So you will now see that I have 8 frames drawn over time of 9. Now, when we do the lip sync, a lot of this will be handled by Toon Boom itself, which will algorithmically process your audio to figure out your mouth shapes. Now, these frames, if you hover over them in the timeline, you will see that they tell you what the frame number that is, or the drawing number, I should say. What is the drawing? So, see, I can see here frame 1. I have drawing 1, 2, 3, 4. I deleted 1. So this is actually drawing 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is where I will point out on the notes, when I talk down here in the lip sync mapping, it'll say typically A through X will correspond to drawings 1 through 8 if done in order on a fresh drawing layer with no deleted frames. So I made a mistake. Mistakes are okay. That's not the point, the problem here. It's just I need to be very sure I'm putting in the right numbers for our next step. So I know that by hovering over these, but you can also check under this tab up here that says library. And so that is also down here on our notes, something we skipped over in our first pass of it. Allows you to swap a range of frames to another. So, but basically what this will tell you as I go through this, so if I have the library open, I'm on frame 1, it's telling me that is drawing 1. I'm on frame 2, it's telling me it's drawing 2. 3, 4. When I click on this, it'll tell me, hey, that's drawing 6, not drawing 5. If I wanted to, drawing 5 is still hidden in here. It is still available for me to bring back in my library. Toon Boom doesn't forget. But again, we don't want that shape. It is bad. So what I know is that my A, B, C, and D shape are 1 through 4. My E shape is 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank you, Michael. So anyway, now I can start processing my audio. Let's bring in the audio. File, import, sound. Go find the sound. This is what I gave you, TB5, Pokeball Go. Open. It is a quiet audio file for some reason, just is what it is. If you want to see the sound a little bit more clearly, you can increase this parameters. That just makes the sound waveform here a little bit more visible. Okay, so I have my sound in here now. With my sound layer selected, animation, lip sync, and then there's 2 things we do in here. First, we run this auto lip sync detection. So I'm just going to click that. You'll see a little bar pop up here, and it processed your audio. Now, what it did is it listened to your audio and figured out what mouth shape should be for each frame on that audio. So the next step is once it is figured out what mouth shape to put, then you go right back to the lip sync and map the lip sync and tell it which layers to use in what frames. So I already had one kid screw this up in first period. Sorry if you're listening to this and you know who you are. Make sure your destination layer gets changed from dark green to mouth, because we want to bind our lip sync to our mouth shapes. And here is where you tell it which drawings correspond to which mouth shapes. So as I said before, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4. Now if you, unlike me, didn't make a mistake, the rest of these will be 5, 6, 7, and 8. However, I know that I made a mistake, and I know that I skip drawing 5. So I go 6, 7, 8, 9. But, so again, destination layer, numbers are the appropriate number, hit OK, and now you can see it has filled in my whole timeline with mouth shapes. Let me turn off my onion skin because it's not useful anymore. So let me just play this. Now, clearly, the issue is that this idiot doesn't keep his mouth shut until he starts talking. So, because Toon Boom just hears all the background noise and is like, oh, this is all stuff that we need to be lip syncing. So, we need to use our new friend, the library, to change all of the frames before 110, let's say. So, I'm on frame 110, gonna hold shift and click on the first frame. I'll start from frame 1 and shift click back to here, I guess, whatever. And then up here in my library, again, library tab, I'm going to change it to my closed mouth shape, which is mouth shape number 9. Again, I know they functionally look the same, the A shape and the X shape. Like I said, the A shape is an actual mouth shape. It's the sound, whereas the X shape, the final mouth shape, is actually just the mouth closed. Not to be pedantic about the whole thing, but that is the truth. So anyway, now he keeps his mouth shut the whole time. Except his lip syncing back here is actually really bad. Mainly because there is background audio. So, I used to give you folks clean, good audio of me saying nerf this for your first lip sync assignment. And the problem with that is that it lip syncs really nicely because there's no background noise. So, it just works. And most of the time, that should be the hope. You just put in the audio file without any background noise, without any music, and Toon Boom figures it out. For this, though, no such luck. Unfortunately, you will often, especially with your lip sync assignment, not be able to find things without background noise. So, the next thing we need to do is to manually adjust how our lip syncing went. So, So here, he should be holding his mouth open, screaming the "Oh!" So, Pokeball. So his mouth should be way open here, right? So from here, this is what, 7 shape? So we'll go from here, from here to here, we're going to make the 7 shape. So now he's shouting. Please do what I just told you to do. Okay, make it all 6, then make it all 7. Alright, this thing is so annoying sometimes. Okay, so you have to change it to all 1 and then back to another. I think that the 7 shape is not the right play here. I think we're going to go with a different... We'll go with the D shape. Now this one is where he should definitely be in the 7 shape, the G shape, the big open mouth. And here his mouth should be closed, if I'm being honest. This is a moment where he's taking a breath, essentially. So I'm going to go to 9 shape. Would you just... There we go. So on this one, definitely shouldn't have his mouth closed. I'll take these frames, make him this. And go to a D shape. And then here, this is already in the 7 shape, so I'm just going to take all of this, make it 6 shape, make it 7 shape. A little bit more manual, but it's good enough. We'll take that. So the main thing is, while we've been doing all of this work, there's been no animation going on. We turned off the rigs, we turned off the pegs rather, and this mouth is not being controlled by Ash's peg, so that it stays with Ash in the background. So first, let's go ahead and turn that camera peg on again. We'll put the mouth into the peg with Ash, and you'll notice, oh, it gets offset a little bit. So, golden guy off, animate off, so we're at red guy. Go to my mouth layer here, move tool. I'll put the controller thingy on it. Just move the mouth back over, animate back on, go about your life. So we'll just play this from here now. Bingo. I actually wasn't even there. This is the full screen, actually. I'm definitely gonna get copyright strike for this video, by the way. Bingo! You did it. A lip sync with 3D animation. Hell yeah. So, that is it. If you get this, you are good to go. So, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.